El Dorado, the legendary city of gold that drove Spanish conquistadors mad with greed. But here's what most people don't realize: El Dorado wasn't originally a place at all, it was a person. The name literally means, the Golden One, and it referred to a ritual performed by the Muisca people of Colombia. Every time a new chief took power, he would cover himself in gold dust, then dive into Lake Guatavita as an offering to the gods. Think about that for a moment. While Europeans were searching for a mythical city paved with gold, they were chasing a misunderstood ceremony. The real story is actually more fascinating than the legend. The Spanish first heard rumors of El Dorado in the 1530s, shortly after conquering the Inca Empire. Conquistadors had just seized massive amounts of gold from the Incas, and they were hungry for more. Indigenous peoples told them about a chief who covered himself in gold, and the Spanish immediately assumed there must be an entire city made of the precious metal. They spent the next 200 years searching for something that never existed. But here's where it gets interesting: the legend wasn't completely fabricated. The Muisca civilization did have incredible wealth, and their goldworking techniques were among the most sophisticated in the Americas. Lake Guatavita, where the Golden Chief ceremony took place, has been the subject of multiple expeditions. In 1545, Spanish conquistadors tried to drain the lake by cutting a notch in the rim. They recovered some gold artifacts, but not the fortune they expected. In 1898, a British company actually succeeded in draining most of the lake using a tunnel system. They found hundreds of gold pieces, but the mud at the bottom dried like concrete in the sun, making further excavation impossible. By the time they could continue, the tunnel had collapsed. Modern archaeology has revealed that the Muisca were far more advanced than the Spanish gave them credit for. They created intricate gold figurines called tunjos, which were ceremonial offerings thrown into sacred lakes. Thousands of these artifacts have been recovered, each one telling a story about Muisca religious beliefs and social structure. The famous Muisca Raft, discovered in 1969, actually depicts the El Dorado ceremony, showing a chief on a raft surrounded by attendants. But the Spanish weren't the only ones searching for El Dorado. The legend evolved and spread across South America. Some expeditions placed it in the Amazon rainforest, others in the mountains of Venezuela, some even claimed it was near the Orinoco River. Sir Walter Raleigh, the famous English explorer, became obsessed with finding El Dorado. In 1595, he led an expedition up the Orinoco River in Venezuela, convinced the city was hidden somewhere in the jungle. Raleigh wrote extensively about his journey, describing it as a paradise filled with gold and precious stones. He returned to England empty-handed, but he never gave up believing. He launched a second expedition in 1617, which ended in disaster and ultimately led to his execution. The interesting part is that while El Dorado itself was a myth, the Spanish did find real lost cities in South America. Places like Machu Picchu and Ciudad Perdida were unknown to Europeans for centuries. Some historians believe the legend of El Dorado was deliberately spread by indigenous peoples, a way to lure Spanish conquistadors deeper into hostile territory where disease, starvation, and attack would eliminate them. If true, it was an incredibly effective strategy. The pursuit of El Dorado claimed thousands of lives. Entire expeditions disappeared into the jungle, never to be seen again. The Amazon swallowed up fortune hunters, leaving no trace of their passing. One of the most tragic expeditions was led by Gonzalo Pizarro in 1541. He took 4,000 people into the Amazon, including 200 Spanish soldiers and thousands of indigenous porters. Only 80 Spaniards survived the journey, starving and delirious, having found nothing but death and disease. But modern technology has revealed something fascinating: the Amazon rainforest may actually hide evidence of advanced pre-Columbian civilizations. LiDAR scanning has uncovered massive earthworks, geometric patterns, and what appear to be urban centers beneath the jungle canopy. These weren't El Dorado, but they prove that complex societies existed in regions the Spanish explored. The conquistadors may have walked right past incredible archaeological sites without ever knowing they were there. The legend also had a powerful psychological component. After the Spanish found the massive wealth of the Aztecs and Incas, they assumed every indigenous civilization must be hiding similar treasure. Confirmation bias made them see signs of El Dorado everywhere they looked. Indigenous guides quickly learned they could save their own lives by telling the Spanish what they wanted to hear, always describing the city of gold as being just beyond the next mountain range, or across the next river. It kept the conquistadors moving away from populated areas. The Muisca themselves were eventually conquered by the Spanish in 1537, their gold-working traditions destroyed, their sacred lakes desecrated. Ironically, the Spanish colonized the very region where the El Dorado ceremony had taken place, but they never made the connection. Today, Lake Guatavita is a protected site, no more treasure hunting is allowed. The lake has become a symbol of how myths can both preserve and distort history. Archaeological work in Colombia has revealed that the Muisca were part of a much larger network of advanced cultures in South America. Their trade routes extended thousands of miles, connecting them to societies across the continent. The gold they worked came from rivers and mines throughout the region. They developed sophisticated techniques for creating alloys and working with precious metals. Their craftsmanship rivals anything produced in Europe during the same period. But here's the real twist: the Spanish melted down almost all the gold they found. Countless irreplaceable artifacts were destroyed and turned into bars to ship back to Spain. The artistic and cultural value was completely ignored in favor of raw wealth. Museums around the world now hold fragments of what once was, pieces that survived because they were buried, hidden, or overlooked. The Museo del Oro in Bogotá has the largest collection of pre-Columbian gold artifacts in the world, including pieces from the Muisca civilization. The legend of El Dorado has inspired countless books, films, and expeditions over the centuries. It represents the ultimate symbol of greed and obsession, the unattainable prize that destroys those who seek it. But it also represents something else: the clash between two worldviews. To the Muisca, gold was sacred, a material used to honor the gods and mark important ceremonies. To the Spanish, it was wealth, power, and status. This fundamental misunderstanding drove much of the violence and tragedy of the conquest. The Spanish couldn't comprehend a civilization that would throw gold into a lake, just as the indigenous peoples couldn't understand why the Europeans were so obsessed with hoarding it. Modern expeditions continue to search for lost treasures in South America, but they're motivated by archaeology and history rather than gold fever. Each discovery adds new pieces to our understanding of pre-Columbian civilizations. In 2018, researchers using ground-penetrating radar identified what might be a massive gold deposit at the bottom of Lake Guatavita, but Colombian law now prohibits excavation. The lake and its contents are considered a national treasure, more valuable as a cultural heritage site than for any gold it might contain. Some people still believe El Dorado is out there, hidden in some unexplored corner of the Amazon. Every few years, someone announces they've found it, usually based on satellite imagery showing geometric patterns in the jungle. But the truth is, El Dorado has already been found. It's in museums, in archaeological sites, in the cultural memory of the Muisca people. It was never a city of gold, it was a spiritual practice that became a legend that became an obsession. The real lesson of El Dorado isn't about lost treasure, it's about how myths shape history. The Spanish spent centuries and countless lives searching for something that existed only in their imagination. Meanwhile, they destroyed real civilizations, real cultures, real treasures, all in pursuit of a fantasy. The actual archaeological heritage they encountered was far more valuable than any mythical city of gold could have been. Today, El Dorado serves as a cautionary tale about greed, misunderstanding, and the destructive power of obsession. It reminds us that sometimes the stories we tell ourselves are more powerful than reality. And who knows, maybe there are still discoveries waiting in the Amazon, not cities of gold, but evidence of sophisticated societies that challenge everything we thought we knew about ancient America. The legend may be based on a misunderstanding, but the search for El Dorado led to the exploration and mapping of South America. In a twisted way, a myth helped shape the modern understanding of an entire continent. So the next time you hear about El Dorado, remember it's not about a lost city. It's about a sacred ceremony, a cultural clash, and centuries of human obsession with wealth and power. The Golden Chief of Lake Guatavita is long gone, but the legend he inspired continues to captivate our imagination, proving that sometimes the most powerful treasures are the stories we tell.